Hey guys, Dadixie back with another The Outer Worlds 2 video. There are 6 companions in the game: Niles, Valerie, Inez, Azza, Marisol, and Tristan. What I'm going to do is go through all 6 and then tell you what kind of build works best with each of them individually, because committing these perk points here, as you can see, is permanent. I cannot change these around. However, they do have weapons and armor that you can change around in the party upgrade section of your workbench. As you can see, I've done both 2 companion missions here for Niles, so I'm able to swap around his weapons and his armor mods freely as long as I come to a workbench. However, if you haven't done their second, you can't change their second mod, and if you haven't done the first, you can't change their first mod. Very simple. Hey guys, this is Dan from the future. I thought I'd tell you where you get the companions as well before we get into this. It's fairly straightforward. You get Niles and Valerie at the start of the game. You get Inez on the first planet, Eden, during the main storyline. The easiest to miss is Tristan. When you leave the planet of Eden, do a detour to Free Market Station and enter the bar. You get Marisol on the next planet, Dorado, during the main mission line. And finally, you get Azza at the decommissioned Autonomous Extractorum building on Dorado. So you get them all fairly early. Now, overall, Niles and Tristan are your best tanky characters. Niles has a way to avoid damage, to make himself damage immune for a short amount of time, but he has less overall armor than Tristan. Both of these characters have ways to taunt. Then the best supporting characters are Valerie and Marisol. Valerie is probably the best healer. Marisol has got the most to support a particular build or a particular playstyle, which I'll go through with her perks. And then Azza outputs a lot of damage in melee, same with Inez, but hers is range damage. I would say Inez probably outputs the most DPS because she has a better weapon and she can shoot at range, whereas Azza and Tristan, they can hit very hard in melee, but they do have to get into melee. And getting into melee means they're going to have to run from one target to another. There is judgment and there is spread the message, which makes it slightly easier, but these aren't up all the time. So those are the 6 characters. Let's go through them individually to show you exactly what they do. Now, I had to go outside because for some reason in the ship, it doesn't show you everything they do. Here's Niles. He has the ability, spread it out, and I'll hold them. And you'll notice that he has more traits here and more perks. His ability is spread them out, I'll hold them. He shoots at a target 3 times and then taunts everyone in the area. The area isn't huge, but it is a decent amount. So he's going to start tanking for you with this. And the 3 shots actually deal significant damage. He's not a slouch when it comes to damage output. Then the main reason you want him is because of field tinkering. It makes it so when he's in the party, you can use the workbench just by talking to him. And at the workbench, you can, like I said, change around the companion mods, but you can also break down items, you can modify your weapons, and you can craft. You can craft grenades, ammo, etc. And in a game like this where you run out of ammo fast, being able to craft at any time is really good. I used it for a demolitions and engineering build. I could engineer more items with engineering, and with demolitions I used I don't know why I keep saying demolitions, it's explosives. With explosives, you can make more grenades. So that was a very potent combination with Niles. So I did bring Niles with me a lot in that playthrough. Then he has reflex amplifier. This makes him more tanky. He gets bonus evasion and he can avoid incoming damage because of it. I'm not sure exactly what this percentage is, but it makes it so he can completely avoid damage from particular shots, which makes him kind of better against snipers than Tristan, because Tristan has high armor, but snipers can kind of pierce through that, and avoiding attacks is better overall for your slow, hard-hitting weapons. So I guess they're both great tanks in their own right. I got him. Niles puts himself in the enemy's line of fire to protect his comrades. Enemies are more likely to target him, and he will occasionally fire at enemies not targeting them, taunting them. So if you want a taunty, tanky build, the left side is probably the way you go. And then we have the damaging side. Niles ignores a portion of his target's armor and will target enemy weak points to deal more damage. So you've got your tank and you've got your DPS. Then we have scrap engineering. While Niles is in the party, containers have a small chance to contain a large cache of scrap metal. This was very useful in my playthrough because I use scrap metal for almost everything in crafting, from ammo to grenades. So you pick this for every other build but a sneaky one, because with a sneaky one, you get this, spotter. While exploring, Niles periodically calls out enemies he spots, revealing them on the minimap. This is completely useless. It's for the next part. He also makes it more difficult for enemies to spot you, which is minus 20% NPC awareness detection rate. So if you've gone sneaky, you might want to consider this, but even then, if you've gone a sneak build, you're probably not going to be spotted because you've already invested so heavily into it. And even in that case, I'd say scrap engineering is better because the calling out enemies is just not very useful in practice. Then at level 15, he can unlock self-repairing armor, which lets him put on plates of armor that almost act as like temporary armor that get blown off when enemies attack him and then regenerate after a certain amount of time. It's a +9 to his armor rating, which is very significant. So he's more of like a burst tank. He will take a lot of damage up front, especially when you use spread them out and now hold them, because that activates his additional perk, which I didn't go through last Defender. After using his ability, he becomes overcharged, negating 100% of incoming attacks for a short duration. It was around 3 seconds, I think, from memory. So it's not a long time, but it does add up. You know, he will tank for a decent amount of time after using this. It's just a matter of this needs to charge up before you can use it, so you can't use it multiple times in a fight. Once again, burst tank. Then we have Ghost Array. This is if you've gone that sneaky DPS build. He constructs a cloaking device for his armor, granting himself camouflage when he drops to half health. While camouflaged, enemies will have trouble targeting Niles and his attacks deal bonus damage. So he's going to output more damage. He's going to basically reduce his aggro, making your aggro go to you. Now, in a leadership build, you probably want this because you're trying to be the tanky character that's taking damage for your companions, and you want your companions to be outputting the damage. So you don't want Niles to really be taunting in that case, because as a leadership build, you want him to be doing it. You probably want two characters that are going to be outputting a lot of damage in order to get the most out of the bonus damage part of the leadership skill. In which case, this makes it so he survives a lot longer to output the damage. Then at level 20, he has self-repairing armor mod, or the Ghost Array mod. The self-repairing armor mod basically just gives you the same thing that he has, this armor that basically blows off and then regenerates over time when you're not taking damage. The sound effect is kind of annoying, so if you don't like that, then get the Ghost Array mod. This makes it so it's difficult for enemies to target you and causes your attacks to deal sneak attack damage, similar to the effect for the Ghost Array there. So if you've gone a stealthy build, this is definitely going to be good because you're going to have that huge amount of sneak attack damage, and this will just be icing on the cake for you. Now level 25, dumb aggression. Rather than taunting, he now goads targets, which makes them step out of cover, have a reduced attack speed, and can't use cover for a while. You'll notice that enemies will try to flank you, they'll use cover, they'll be really annoying. Goading them is really, really effective. It makes it so you can line up your shots a lot better because, yeah, it's dumb aggression on their part when they're goaded, and that is really, really good for you. Not just for Niles, who's going to take less damage from the taunt. It's also good for you because you can line up the shots better. They're not hiding, they're not being difficult to line up and take out. Then we have Full Cylinder. Niles' companion ability now fires 6 shots instead of 3, doubling the total damage he'll deal. Additionally, enemies killed by Niles as part of this ability explode, dealing damage to other enemies in the area. This explosion is pretty significant, and the 6 shots actually make him output a lot of damage. So if you want Niles to deal damage, you definitely go Full Cylinder. It's a really good ability. It's almost like you'll start playing where you deal a bit of damage to an enemy before you activate his companion ability, so you can kind of guarantee the explosion, which is fine because it almost always will finish something off unless they're extremely tanky. Then we have Force Emitter at level 30. When an enemy gets within melee range of Niles, he activates a sonic shockwave in an area around himself, dealing damage and knocking all enemies down. This has a cooldown. The Force Emitter also slows down incoming attacks slightly, granting Niles additional damage resistance. That's a bit of flavor text there because it doesn't slow down anything. All it does is give him 10% damage resistance. So the melee attacks won't slow, the bullets won't slow down around him. He's just getting that 10% damage resistance, which is pretty good. He's going to resist damage a lot better. He's going to be a lot tankier. But if you've got a damage build, you want to get this Smokescreen Emitter. Niles releases a cloud of smoke on his current piece of cover or position, granting camouflage to party members in the area, you and your other companion. While camouflage, the party is invisible and deals bonus sneak attack damage. So if you've got a sneak attack build, being invisible means you're going to keep shooting them for sneak attack damage, meaning that you, even when detected, can still deal that 1000% bonus sneak attack damage that sneak builds get. This is really, really good if you're a stealthy character. So when is Niles good? Niles is good if you are an engineer because you like scrap engineering and you like field tinkering. Niles is good if you want someone to tank for you because this whole left side of the tree is going to make him a lot tankier and make it so he really absorbs a lot of damage for you. And then you can combine him with Tristan, who is a more longer lasting tank, to kind of layer the effect. So you will start the fight with spread it out and I'll hold them. He'll be that burst tank for a while. Then as soon as people stop targeting Niles, you can get Tristan to use his ability to taunt everyone as well. And then Tristan can kind of last the fight from that point on. Or if you've gone a sneaky build, this line here is just going to be perfect for you. Niles is really actually surprisingly good for stealth builds. Then we have Valerie. Now, disclaimer, I've used her the least out of all the companions, mainly because she's a healer and a supporter. And as a robot, I just felt like I wanted to hear the dialogue from everyone else more than her. So let's go through what she can do. Firstly is the ability Emergency Protocols. It makes it so she fires a volley of syringes with healing drugs at you, applying a strong heal over time effect and granting massive damage reduction for a short duration. Now, this is the best heal in the game. This is like using an inhaler, except you just become really resistant to damage for a time after that. The resistance lasts as long as the heal effect is going, I think is roughly about the same. So it's not a long duration, but this is an oh shit button on a different button. You've got your heal on Z, and then you have your companion ability on another button. I changed it to 1 and 2 just to make it a little easier because I always change weapons with my scroll wheel. But you have your companion ability as well. So you have 2 points of oh shit where Valerie can save you, and she's very good at doing that if you've gotten something that's not tanky. Then she has her traits, life injection module. When a party member gets low on health, Valerie fires a syringe of healing drugs that heals on impact and has a cooldown between uses. So there you go, another oh shit button. So you can see she leans very much into it. Then while Valerie is in the party, they have a chance to preserve your bypass shunts when hacking. So yes, a robot makes hacking builds better. And that's another thing. I didn't lean heavily into hack in any of my playthroughs. I did do in my second playthrough about 9 or so points into hack, which was enough to get through at least the mid game in all hack checks. But in that particular case, she can be very useful because those bypass shunts you can kind of forget to bring with you, and then if you don't have one, it's very annoying. So let's go through her perks. We have armor operation. Party members affected by Valerie's life injection module receive a moderate armor for a bonus duration. It's 10 armor, that's quite a lot. When Valerie uses her life injection module trait, all other party members, including herself, are healed for a moderate amount. So she either, with this emergency injection thing that you can't trigger manually, gives you more armor to make you more tanky if you've dropped low and you're being targeted, or it gives everyone a heal in the party. So if you pick this up, it's probably going to be for a leadership build, or probably going to be because you don't have any other way to heal your party members and keep them around so they can keep their DPS coming. You want to pick this one if you're the primary focus, if it's all about you, if you want to keep yourself alive. Very simple. Integrated mag pick repair. She grants your mag picks a chance to be preserved on use, letting you use them again. Salvaging tools. Gain a chance to gain additional crafting resources when breaking down items with Valerie in the party. So you get a 20% chance to double items on breakdown. So you can combine Niles and Valerie here for a good engineering build if you want a lot of crafting materials and you want to craft a lot. Otherwise, if you have gone into lockpick, she can be fairly useful. If you haven't gone into lockpick, then you want to go salvaging tools because this is going to pay off more often. All right, then we have strength supplement module. Valerie will fire a syringe containing a powerful stimulant at you when in melee range of an enemy, healing you for a small amount and temporarily increasing your melee damage and movement speed. It has a cooldown between uses. So if you get up to melee range, not her, she will fire this at you, making you better in melee. It's 20% melee damage and movement speed for 8 seconds. And that 20% movement speed does actually pay off. It's very noticeable. And you also heal a small amount. But the big thing there is the 20% damage. So if you've got a melee build, this is a no-brainer. otherwise get Fortitude Supplement Module. She'll fire a syringe containing a powerful drug at you when you suffer a hostile effect. That can be you're burning or you've lost your armor, and it clears all of that and heals you a small amount. It has a cooldown between uses. So this will come up more than you think. At level 20, we have Enhanced Emergency Protocols. After being healed by Valerie's companion ability, you are immune to all damage for the duration rather than gaining a bonus to damage reduction. So that upgrades this to make you immune instead of getting that reduction. And then we have Preparation Protocols. While you're at full health, Valerie's companion ability recharges significantly faster. This will just make it so she can heal you much more often, and you have a heal ready to go in almost every fight. Once again, she's just an amazing support. If you're playing in higher difficulties, Valerie is going to be very invaluable because you're going to find yourself needing heals a lot. Then we have level 25, Vitality Catalyst. When Valerie is in the party, all overhealing you receive is converted into temporary health that degrades slowly. This includes heals from Valerie, your medical inhaler, and any other source of healing. So, if you've gone a medical build, medical almost always overheals you. You've got an ability to put multiple primers in, and that means you're going to have a large amount of heal from a single inhaler effect. You're going to have Valerie healing you multiple times with her life injection module and emergency protocols. So you're going to find yourself extremely tanky and getting benefits from those overheals because of this. So if you've got a medical build, I won't say it again, go Valerie. Then we have Preservation Catalyst. While Valerie is in your party, you and your companions will automatically heal, regenerating up to 50% of their maxed health. And this is good. Don't get me wrong. It's not a fast heal, and it only gets you up to 50%. So I think in almost all cases, the Vitality Catalyst is better. You can see I've put a point into here that was just to max her out for this video. But I would say in most cases, Vitality Catalyst is better. Then we have at level 30, Prolonged Defenses. When the player is healed by Valerie's companion ability, the player also gains a buff to armor for that remainder of combat. And now that doesn't sound very good, but 20 armor is absolutely insane. This is a large amount of armor. So any fast firing weapons that hit you or any shotguns that hit you are basically going to do no damage at all to you. It's only the slow firing weapons that are going to hit you hard once you have this plus 20 armor, that is. Then we have Prolonged Restoration. When the player is healed by Valerie's companion ability, that player also gains a regeneration effect for the remainder of combat. It doesn't stack, and it's a 1% health per second. This is not incredibly fast either. Let's just say you're at 1 health. It's going to take 99 seconds of combat for you to get up to full. So with all of Valerie's other ways to heal you with your own inhaler, I would say Prolonged Defenses is probably better. But I mean, if this gave it to your party members as well, it would be good. But I would say, once again, stick with these two. So that's Valerie. She's very good if you've gone a medical build, and she's very good if you've gone a character that doesn't have the best defenses and is not very survivable. I would not say you need to pick her really for any other reason. Maybe if you've gone lockpicking, and maybe if you've gone hacking, just because she makes that slightly easier for you, but not in a large enough way to make it so you pick her over someone else just for those perks. Then we have Inez. She has multiple different graphs depending on which way you went with her companion missions. So what I would recommend is make a save before you hand in the mission, just so you can see both avenues of her graph. She can either go a supported build or more of a DPS focused build. So we'll go through her perks and then you'll kind of know what you'd position her as. First though is her ability. This changes based on, like I said, what you've handed in with her loyalty missions. So ignore this for now. I won't bother going through them. You can go through them yourself when you've done her missions. However, she has combat drugs as a trait. She has a set of drugs in her body that help regulate her graft and improve her performance in combat. At the start of each combat, her drugs are automatically injected, temporarily increasing her rate of fire and her accuracy. So once again, she's very good in combat. She outputs a lot of damage. Then she has Unlicensed Chemist. While she's in the party, the amount of inhaler charge you receive from drugs is increased. Now, while you're in the world, you'll come across drugs laid about. When you pick it up, you will automatically get some charge into your inhaler. I can show you that here. Down the bottom there, you can see I've got 115 inhaler charges. If I was to press Z, I would pick this up. I need to be in combat. I'd pick this up, I'd take a whiff, and I'd go down to 114. However, the 4 blue bars next to the 115 there is how much charge I need to get to the 116. Hopefully that made sense. As I pick up drugs, the bars will slowly fill until it gets to the end, and then I'll get another inhaler charge that I can use. That was a very convoluted way to say she helps you get more inhaler charges. So if you've got a medical build, it can be useful, or if you just want to survive more, you find yourself using your inhaler very often. Now, this graft stabilization matrix was based on her loyalty mission, so don't think too much of it, but it gave her the ability to hold 2 charges of her ability, so she can cast them twice in a fight. Alright, so at level 5 she has Surgical Strike. Inez's training as a doctor gives her a good understanding of the anatomy of combatants. Inez's accuracy is significantly increased and she will actively target enemies' weak spots. Once again, she'll try to basically go for their head. Additionally, her weapon shots will periodically stun her target. This is the best thing about Surgical Strike, but it is, if you want her to output more damage, a very good perk. Then we have Field Medicine. This is if you want her to go a more support route. She occasionally tosses medicine packs near you. Walking over them automatically uses them, reducing your toxicity buildup or crash duration. So if you want to use your inhaler a lot, this will definitely help because toxicity builds up every time you use it. And if you get to the max amount of toxicity, you'll crash, and then for a long time you won't be able to use your inhaler again. Then we have Experimental Drug Conversion. Eating food or drink while Inez is in the party grants a small amount of inhaler charge in addition to the normal healing. So once again, if you want more charges, which is good for medicine. Experimental Biomass Conversion. Eating food or drink while Inez is in the party has a chance to give you crude biomass for crafting. So this is good for engineering, but also strangely good for medical as well, because medical like using biomass weapons, which I've gone through in my ultimate character guide below if you want to check that out. Then we have at level 15, Inez improves the lethality of her companion ability. Depending on which graft she has, the effects of this perk are different. If she has the Raptidon graft, the healing mist placed via her ability now grant heightened accuracy and damage for party members in the area. If she has the Crabble graft, which she does right now, her first shot with her ability now leaves a pool of plasma that deals damage to enemies in the area. So the Crabble one is the DPS one, the Raptidon one is the support one. So as a support one, she just makes it so you deal more damage and she heals you. So Raptidon is good if you want to make your character stronger, and the Crabble one is good if you want her to output more damage. Or you can get the Medical Graft Research, and this improves the restoration abilities of her companion ability. Depending on which graft she has, this perk is different. If she has the Raptidon graft, Healing Mist placed via her ability clings to friendlies, continuing the heal even after they leave the mist. If she has the Crabble graft, she now drops a canister of Healing Mist at her position when using her companion ability, healing friendlies that stand in the mist. So you can turn her DPS Crabble build into a support build, or you can further lean into the support path of the Raptidon graft. So it depends. Do you want more damage output or do you want more support? This is how you choose the level 15 perk here. Then we have Potent Biomass. Inez heightens the potency of your party's biomass weaponry. Inez will always deal a small amount of corrosive damage, even if she hasn't chosen the biomass upgrade to her weapon, and your corrosive damage is increased and stacks its side effects faster. So once again, she's great with medical because they like the corrosive weaponry, but if you like the corrosive weaponry, this is great as well. She also has Experimental Primer Research. Inez crafts a custom primer for you. Equipping it into your Hailer and using it applies a buff for a long duration. While the buff is active, kills caused by the party heal you for a small amount. The primer has very low toxicity usage. So if you've gone a leadership build, this can be very useful because you're probably going to use the primer even if you don't use Inez in your party. But she is very good in your party for a leadership build, so it's kind of like this would be better on someone else just so you can use it and then not use them. However, outside of a leadership build, your party is not going to be doing the killing. You're probably going to be doing the killing. So you're going to go Potent Biomass in that particular case. Unless you don't want Inez in your party, then you go Experimental Primer Research because you're just always going to get something for it instead of getting nothing. Then at level 25, we have Ultra Strength Injector, and there's adjusts the ejection speed of her auto injector, allowing it to be applied over a longer time with no efficiency lost. Her drug buff lasts for 100% more time. So if you want her to output damage, this is the way to go. While in the party, your inhaler heals for more and prevents the party from taking damage for a short period of time. So if you've gone a leadership build, this is great. If you've gone a medical build, this is great as well. If you've gone a leadership and medical build, Inez is just a no-brainer for you. This is an amazing skill, and it's going to pay off in a lot of ways because your crew are just going to be able to output damage with almost reckless abandon because you can just keep them alive, especially with the leadership perks that let you resurrect from distances and all that stuff. Then we have a level 30s. Activating Inez's companion ability refreshes and reapplies her drugs, also applying the drugs bonuses to the entire party. Once again, leadership build, really good with her. It's also really, really good if you just want her to output damage and you just want to output damage. So if you've gone a combat build yourself, 25% rate of fire, 25% range weapon reload speed, and minus 50% range weapon spread are not small numbers. These are insane. So this is almost always the way to go. However, with emergency procedures, activating Inez's companion ability immediately clears your toxicity and crash. It also causes the party to automatically regenerate health for a long duration. This is what you get if you've gone a higher difficulty. If you've gone, the very hard difficulty, being able to heal the entire party and clear your toxicity is a really good oh shit button because you're going to be spamming your inhaler. You're going to want to use it again. So activating her ability is another nice way to keep you safe and healthy. But outside of that, I just think outputting the damage in almost every other case is going to be better, unless of course you've gone a medical build that gets bonuses for being in the crash state or really likes to build their toxicity up high. So this is a way to clear that. So Inez, she is probably one of the better companions in almost every case. She can output a lot of damage. She can suit a lot of builds. But if you have gone the leadership medical route, she's definitely 100% what you have to have in your team. And yeah, there's not really much more to her. She's just a great character overall. Then we have Azza. Okay, she needs to get in melee to deal damage, but with her ability Spread the Message, she kind of teleports to them and fires this kind of shotgun explosion effect at them, dealing damage and staggering them. So meaning that they have to recover before they start attacking again. But this can be used very often because she starts with 2 charges of this. So you can use this once to open a fight and then once you've opened that fight and you want to stagger someone else. So it's very useful. She outputs quite a bit of damage. Then she has a trait, a Chaotic Purpose, that makes it so her companion ability charges much faster than other companions. So she'll be able to output damage with her ability much more than other companions. Then she has Hidden in Plain Sight. While she's in the party, factions with neutral or higher reputation need a higher bounty before they consider you an outlaw and pursue you for crimes. So if you've gone a psychopath build where you just want to kill everyone and you don't really want to worry, this is really good. However, I didn't find bounties to be too much of an issue for every other playthrough. So this is really just flavor. You don't pick her for Hidden in Plain Sight. However, her perks are a different story. At level 5, every third melee attack will automatically inflict stagger and deal bonus damage. But once again, she still needs to get into melee in order for this to be effective, but it is very effective. So if you've gone a DPS focus, this is the way to go. Otherwise, you get From the Shadows. Azra chooses discretion over aggression and attempts to flank weak targets in combat. This will keep her alive, and this is probably better for your leadership builds because this will actually end up making her tank quite a bit, and she doesn't have the most survivability, especially not compared to Niles and Tristan. And because she needs to get in melee, she's going to be taking a lot of damage. So having her choose to flank will mean she avoids a lot of that naturally. And even though she probably won't output the kind of damage she would have with Relentless, this is probably the way to go for those builds. Then we have a level 10, Volatile Bombs. The explosion caused by her companion ability covers a larger area, allowing it to hit more enemies. Because you'll be using this with 2 charges and it'll be regenerating a lot, This will actually mean she will output a lot more damage, but she also has strikes from smoke. After using her companion ability, she deals bonus damage for a duration, and that duration is 20 seconds, and it does 25% more damage. So if you've gone relentless, I recommend going strike from smoke. She will output more damage, and you're going to be teleporting her into the fight much more often, even though she does end up taking more damage. But the stagger effect here means that this extra damage is probably going to pay off much more. Enemies won't run away from her melee attacks if they're staggered, so that 25% more damage is going to get more effective. Otherwise, you go with volatile bombs if you're going with from the shadows, because you just wanted to output more burst in that particular case. Then we have level 15, explosive recycling. When she's in the party, disabling mines gives you crafting materials. So this is the first case of a companion that's good with an explosive skill build, because you can only disable mines if you've got the right amount of explosive skill. So if you like mines, and mines are much more powerful than grenades in this game, it's just that you throw them right in front of you instead of being able to aim where they go, which offsets the fact that they do so much more damage. Getting crafting materials from disabling minefields, and there are a lot of minefields in the game, actually means you can craft more mines and craft more explosives. If you've gone explosives, this is good. Otherwise, assisted takedowns. Azra increases the damage dealt by your stealth attacks. When she's in the party, you get plus 50% sneak attack damage. So if you've got a sneaky build, this is a no-brainer. If you haven't gone explosives, get this. You're gonna sneak sometimes, I guess, and that's a little extra damage. You might as well get use out of it. Then we have level 20, stunning explosion. The companion ability now stuns rather than staggers, which does, of course, make strike from the smoke all the more better. It does make you better because stunning is a hell of a lot better than staggering. Then we have shorten the fuse. She automatically gains one charge of her companion ability when combat starts. This sounds really good if you use her ability a lot. However, if you use it in every single fight, which I didn't, you definitely want to pick up volatile bombs as well to make this slightly better. So if you want to go her companion ability, volatile bombs kind of build, this is the way to go. Then we have Mine Layer. She upgrades your mines and explosives, making them more potent while she's in the party by 25%. Your explosives deal more damage, and your mines will automatically knock down enemies when triggered. If you've gone an explosives build, this is why you have her on your party, on your team. And my first playthrough was, like I mentioned, engineering and explosives, and I had her on my team and I didn't look back. She was absolutely amazing for that. I found myself not actually using explosive recycling because I ended up just blowing up all the mines I saw anyway. But this does mean you can craft more mines and more grenades for Mine Layer to be even more effective. Otherwise, you go Flurry of Blades. She'll occasionally perform a flurry of attacks with her knife, stunning the target for a duration of the attack, dealing incredible damage. So she deals 400% melee damage and stuns. So this is what you pick for every other skill build in the game, because she simply just does a lot more damage and stuns, like I mentioned, is very invaluable. At level 30, she gets Frost Charge. Her companion ability now deals frost damage and leaves a hazard that rapidly applies chilled to enemies. Chilled slows them down by a significant amount. We also have N-Ray Charge. Her companion ability now deals N-Ray instead and has significantly increased damage overall. This is a large amount of damage, but this is a hard choice because this slows them down, letting her get off more damage in melee, stunning more often, doing the flurry more often. But this does more damage overall, and N-Ray is a rare damage type that's quite useful. So you're going to need to make the choice here, which is better for you. But Azra, I don't know why I keep calling her Azra, but Azra overall is just a DPS character. If you want damage on your team, you pick her up. If you've gone an explosive build, you pick her up. If you've gone a leadership build and just want damage, you don't want them to tank for you, you pick her up. This is what she's for. She doesn't suit any other build type or play style. Then we have Marisol, and I don't know why, but she's my favorite companion. I don't think it's her kit. I just think it's how she plays and her personality. You'll see what I mean when I start going through everything. Her ability is Torpifying Blast. Using a gadget of her own design, she shoots energy at a specific target, stunning and showering them with magnetic energy. While the effect lasts, the target cannot move and all attacks against the targets are critical hits. This might be why I like her, because she stuns someone and just makes me more potent in combat. Now, her traits: gadget optimization. Marisol improves your ability to generate energy, allowing any kill scored by the party to restore a small portion of your energy. Now, I believe this is a percentage amount, so she's actually really good in science builds, and there are a lot of things down here that show that she's actually suited for a science-focused character. Because just to recap, science improves your energy, therefore improves your gadgets, because gadgets use energy to activate. Your tactical time dilation uses energy, it slows down time unless you line up shots. You also have a shield that shields you, and so on and so forth. If you've gone science, this will definitely help. If you haven't, restoring your energy means you'll be able to use your tactical time dilation more anyway, so you don't need to lean into science to get use out of this. Then she has Threat Analyzer. Marisol's goggles provide additional analysis. Looking at others while using either tactical time dilation or the N-ray scanner shows strategic data such as health, armor, and the weapon they use. I didn't find the data very useful. I just found the flavor text quite entertaining. If you hover over an enemy while in tactical time dilation and read what it says about him, it's usually pretty funny. But you really don't get much use out of this beyond looking at how much armor they have and then making a decision what kind of weapon you want to use. Besides that, and in most cases, it's not really going to be useful. It's just a little bit extra flavor. Then an additional perk here. After using her companion ability, you immediately refill some of your gadget energy. We'll go through the perks and we'll see how useful she is. At level 5, she has Portable Capacitor Distributor. That's a bit of a mouthful, but Marisol occasionally tosses small portable capacitors near you. Walking over them automatically activates them, restoring gadget. Though attacking them causes them to explode, dealing shock damage in an area around them. I would only say get this if you've gone a very science-focused build, because even shock damage is a focus of science, and the restoring gadget energy isn't super useful for any other build. For that, we have Combat Analyzer. Marisol analyzes the enemy in combat, marking them. While active, your attacks against the target apply different effects depending on the location of the body you hit. If you shoot them in the legs, they get knocked down. If you shoot them in the head, they get stunned. In the torso or arms, they bleed. Most of the time, you're going to want that stun effect because stunning is much better than knockdown. It just makes them easier to kill as well, because when they're knocked down, you probably can't hit their head anymore. The torso and arms is just a consolation prize for missing your shot. Yes, bleed damage does stack up, but usually you're going to want that stun. But getting a stun is really good, and she does analyze very often in combat. So yeah, overall, great ability for any build, maybe besides science, but even some scientists might want this. Then we have Recharge Paralysis. Your attacks against targets affected by Marisol's companion ability restore gadget energy. 10% of damage dealt restored as gadget energy. This will just top you up almost straight away. Very, very useful. Even more useful than a lot of perks in science. So if you've got a science build, this is the one. Then you want Dispersed Glare for every other build. Marisol's companion ability now affects an area around the target, applying its effects to all nearby enemies. AoE stun? Yes it is. It is an AoE stun. And yeah, I told you she was a support, and this is how she supports, by making the game easier. Then we have for 15, Elemental Weapon Specialist. Marisol collects and recycles your shock rods, plasma cells, and biomass ammo, giving you a small chance to be recovered when used. So if you use shock effects, you use fire effects, you use the corrosive effects, from the shock rods, plasma cells, and biomass ammos respectively. If you basically use any of the elemental effects, you want to pick this up, because she's just going to recycle it very, very often and make ammo not really a problem too much for you anymore, because those ammo types are usually rare, they're usually hard to craft, and they're usually pretty expensive to buy. So this just makes them better overall. Then we have Automech Scrapper, which is what I use for an engineering build. While Marisol is in the party, Automechanicals have a small chance to provide additional crafting materials. Now, this is good for any other build that doesn't really use the elemental weapons, because you're always going to get use out of this. Automechanicals are like a third of the enemies in the game, besides humans and beasts. So you're going to have additional crafting materials pop up a lot because of this. And crafting is just great, like I've mentioned multiple times already. At level 20, we have Shield Generation Reflector. She upgrades your gas energy deflection apparatus. Make sure you pick it up in that side quest while she's in the party, causing damage against the shield to reflect a portion of the damage taken back to the attacker. So if you have gone a tanky, I want to absorb all the damage kind of build, usually a leadership build because you want your companions to deal the damage and you want to take the damage for them, you'll go with this. It'll make you more tanky and it'll make you reflect that damage back. So if you like Thorns builds in games like Diablo, this is the way to go. Or we have N-Ray Scanner Analyzer. Marisol upgrades your N-Ray Scanner, allowing it to automatically analyze enemies. While wearing the N-Ray Scanner, your attacks apply effects to the targets depending on the location of the body you hit. So you put on this N-Ray Scanner and then you just shoot everyone in the head and you're going to be stunning absolutely everyone. This is really, really powerful. I think the only reason why I don't like it is the fact that I have to wear the N-Ray Scanner to get its effects, and I don't like the effect that it puts over the screen. I like to see the game in all of its glory. I don't want the filtered effect every time I go into combat, and you're going to have to do this every time you go into combat because it's so damn powerful. But besides that, yes, this is very, very good. Most of the time you're going to want to pick this over this. But if you don't want the put this on and to see through the N-Ray kind of filter every time you're in combat, then pick up the shield generation reflector. Otherwise, just don't use either of them and she's still very powerful. At level 25, Link Charge. Whenever you spend gadget energy in combat, Marisol's companion ability charges a portion of the energy you spent, and you can easily spend 100 energy and charge her up fully again to do a big AoE stun again. She's very, very powerful in science. I don't think I need to tell you multiple times, otherwise you could get chain paralysis. If an enemy affected by Marisol's companion ability is killed, the effect jumps to all enemies in a moderate range, applying the effect to them again, and this can jump multiple times. So do you want it to fire more often, or do you want it to chain to multiple targets? Being able to fire more often is better, but you do need to be in a science build for this to work and be effective. So in every other build you get chain paralysis, but this is more powerful overall, but the caveat is you do need a science investment. Then at level 30, Energy Relay. Marisol throws a gadget that emits energy to all allies in a radius. While within the radius, that party's weapons are electrified, dealing bonus shock damage and gradually recharging your gadget energy. This is the ultimate payoff to a science build. You're going to be using electric weapons anyway because you get bonuses from the perks. You're going to want to use your gadget energy. You're going to be in tactical time dilation. You're going to have your shield, so on and so forth. This is amazingly good. If you've gone science and you don't have her in your party, I don't know what to tell you. You're contrarian. I don't know. Don't know what to say. In all other cases, Mind Discombobulator is better. Marisol occasionally throws a gadget near you that confuses all enemies in an area around it, while confused enemies wander around aimlessly. This simultaneously makes your party last longer in combat because while they're wandering around aimlessly, they're not attacking you. It also makes it easier for you to kill things, so you output more DPS as well, because while wandering around, they're not bothering you in melee, and if you're not bothered in melee, you can line up weak spot shots easier, or you can output more damage without being stopped. So, Marisol, if you've got a science build, she's a no-brainer. She outputs a lot of damage because she keeps enemies stunned, and she supports you and what you want to do. So overall, I think she's right up there for one of the best companions in the game. Then we have the beast, Tristan. Now, he hits very hard, but attacks slow, so he's good at taking out heavily armored targets. You want to throw him against your bosses or your mini bosses, or the ones that kind of are hard work for you typically, and you take care of the scrubs because he has a lot of armor and he deals a lot of damage individually as a burst, which gets through enemy armor. So his ability, Judgment, actually makes him charge towards an enemy and hit them with a powerful blow, which makes it easy for you to target who he does damage to. So you put him against the biggest target there is in the room. And he additionally also taunts enemies around him. This is a good ability overall. It basically gets him into the fight quickly, and as a melee character, he really needs it. Now his traits, Supreme Arbiter Hammer. He wields this hammer. It's a powerful melee weapon that can be also used as a grenade launcher at range. So you can see the little grenade launcher thing at the front, or the top of the hammer. He'll use that when enemies are out of range. So he's slightly better than just a knife wielding maniac, just because he's still able to do damage when he's not able to get in at melee range. But the grenade launcher doesn't do a lot of damage, but at least it's something. Then he has Observant Adjudicator. While Tristan is in the party, he has a 25% chance to reveal hidden objects around you automatically. This can only occur if you can't reveal it yourself, such as having too low of an observation skill. So if you've gone everything but observation, this is very good. If you've gone observation, then this is going to be worthless to you. A very simple distinction there, though. If you've gone observation and you've gone like a sniper build where you really want to line up headshots and get the most out of your damage, then Tristan and Niles are going to be great for you anyway, because they can taunt and because they can tank damage. So it's almost like this is a useless trait for a build that would really want him. But once again, if you haven't got an observation, this is good. Then he has additional perks. His combat ability charges faster. Now this just means he can use that charge, which deals damage and taunts and knocks away the target much more often, making him much more useful and making it so once he kills the target in melee, it's not going to take him forever to get to the next one, especially if they're up high or they're in a different section of the map. This makes it a lot easier because it teleports him and then he charges. It's quite useful. All right, level 5, enemies are more likely to target Tristan and hostile effects on him last half as long. You just want this for the taunt side of things. If you want him to tank for you, you pick this up. Otherwise, you get explosive strikes. Every third melee attack by Tristan activates his hammer grenade, dealing bonus physical damage in an area around his target. It's 45 physical damage in an area around it. It's not a huge amount, but it is a lot more DPS overall, because if you consider that at this stage, his hammer does roughly that amount of damage. So you're outputting a third more DPS overall, or 25% more DPS overall. One of the two. You're outputting a lot more DPS with Tristan because of this. Then we have Shield of the Law. When choosing to start a fight using dialogue, Tristan will always taunt enemies in addition to any other speech effects. So this is the first time we've seen a character that's good with your speech build. If you've gone speech, you have a perk that makes it so you can fear your targets or other effects when you start a fight right after speech. So this can be quite useful. However, it doesn't come up a whole lot. It doesn't come up as much as you think it would. You don't really have much of a choice because otherwise you've got Beg for Mercy. When choosing to start a fight using dialogue, Tristan will always frighten enemies in addition to any other speech checks. So do you want frighten or do you want the taunt? That's really it. Do you want him to be able to output more damage, or do you want him to take damage for you? Those are the choices. So even though the starting a fight out of dialogue doesn't happen much, you have to choose one of them anyway. Then we have Xyranium regeneration. While Tristan is exposed to Xyranium, he rapidly regenerates health, 2.5% every 0.5 seconds. That's a lot of regen. A lot of regen. However, this doesn't come up as much as you think it would. It's not like rads in Fallout. This only really comes up when you kill a mechanical enemy. When you kill a mechanical enemy, they will have an effect of Xyranium around him, and because he's in melee, he's probably going to get a little bit of heal. The problem is he doesn't stand in that cloud for very long, so you might only get about a second of him in that cloud, and therefore you're getting maybe 5% heal every time you kill an auto-mechanical enemy, which is only going to be about a third of the enemies, so it's not as effective as you think it would be. However, you have Xyranium energy as well, and your companion ability recharges faster while he's in Xyranium. Did I say Xyranium? What the hell am I talking about? When he's in Xyranium, his ability will regenerate faster. So once again, these effects don't come up very often. It's not a massive choice for him, so kind of see them as nothing burgers, because the rest of his kit is very strong. Like aggressive challenge here, enemies taunted by Tristan's companion ability are goaded instead. Goaded enemies do not use cover and take additional damage, just like Niles' ability. This is very, very good. If you want him to tank for you, you pick this up straight away. Then we have Frenzied Charge. After using a companion ability, Tristan is frenzied for a duration. While frenzied, he deals bonus melee damage, attacks more often, and moves faster. This is core if you don't want him to tank, most obviously. I mean, I don't even need to tell you that. This is an insane boost though, when you're comparing to other companions. 25% extra damage is a lot, but it's multiplicative with the fact that he gets more attack speed as well and can get to his targets a lot faster with the movement speed. So Tristan will be right up there with DPSs with Azza and Inez. It's really gonna be a hard choice between those three when it comes to DPS. And even Niles, when you spec him into DPS, it's not an easy choice. The only one that I think is probably bottom tier out of all of these so far in terms of DPS is Valerie and maybe Marisol, because Marisol doesn't output a lot of damage, but the fact that she can stun so many targets does kind of put her up in my eyes. Frenzy Charge is going to make it very difficult for you to choose. Then we have Steel Wall. If you are going to tanky build, you want this because he gains temporary health at the start of combat, doubling his total health. So this 805 isn't going to be 805 for long. If you want him to tank for you, pick it up. It's a no-brainer. Otherwise, get Demoralizing Entry. After killing a target, Tristan terrifies humans and creatures around him, and it has a cooldown between activations. Now, even if you have him as a DPS, I don't think this is as good as Steel Wall, just because he needs to actually do the killing blow to terrify enemies. It does have a 30-second cooldown, and yes, terrified enemies are crowd controlled, and it is going to be easier for you to output DPS, but him just being able to last longer is very, very valuable. So if you get to level 25 and you don't find Tristan dying much at all, and you really don't need the extra health, then definitely pick up Demoralizing Entry. Otherwise, if you need him to tank for you, or if you haven't really gone like a leadership focus and haven't boosted up his health naturally, then get Steel Wall. At level 30 though, it's a harder choice. We have Ground Shaker. When performing his companion ability, rather than knocking the target down, instead he slams the ground, dealing damage and knocking everyone down in an area around him, making him an AoE crowd control menace, because once again, his companion ability is going to be up much more often than some of the other companions, besides Azza, of course. But then we also have Propulsion Rocket. Tristan's grenade launcher attachments gain support for a rocket, propelling him forward during his companion ability. His companion ability now deals considerably more damage and knocks down the target for longer. So, are you lacking AoE? If you haven't gone, say, explosives, or you haven't got an explosive mod on your weapons, maybe you're lacking AoE, and in that case, Ground Shaker is invaluable, but also, knocking everyone down means you'll be able to line your grenades up much easier. So if you have got an AoE build, you might even like this as well. It really depends on where your head is at. It's hard to choose between these two, because Propulsion Rocket is really good if you have trouble with single targets with a lot of armor, because you can just get him into the fight, deal a lot of burst damage against the single target, and then be fine dealing your AoE to everyone else or taking out every other scrub. He's a very good character, and these are very good abilities. Now, just quickly, I want to go through their weapons and armor. Niles gets the ability to ricochet off targets, so he can start spreading out the damage, or he can occasionally knock down a target, meaning he's got a way to crowd control. He also has the ability to reflect attacks back at attackers. This applies, from my knowledge, when he is actually damage immune as well, so it can still reflect like a Thorns effect to enemies. Great if you've got a tanky build. Otherwise, he can also apply an evasion to your party in an area around him, so if you want to tank yourself up a little bit more, this is good for that. Otherwise, he's just got two different damage types in fire and electric, and he can also resist shock or resist corrosive. Valerie has the burn damage or has the frost damage, and can also resist corrosive or resist shock. Her weapon now fires a short burst and damage in an AoE. She can fire a massive beam. I think it does pierce through targets from memory, so either you do splash or a pierce effect with her attacks. Overall, you're not really using her for DPS. She can also recharge her companion ability more often, or she can constantly regenerate her health. So either she heals more often with the companion ability, or she keeps herself alive more often. Then we have Inez. She can deal corrosive damage, dealing more damage overall, or she can deal her damage quietly, reducing the likelihood that enemies attack her. This is quite useful if you're using her for DPS, because she won't go down before you do, because you'll be the one taking the damage. So yes, if you've got a leadership build, you definitely want to lean into this. She can also reduce corrosive damage. She can also release a stunning spray from her armor when damaged in melee, temporarily dazing enemies in an area. So if you've got a leadership build, this is where you want to go, I think, because it's more likely they will attack in melee than they will be dealing corrosive damage. When she kills a human or creature, a medicine pack drops near the target. Walking over this pack automatically uses it, reducing your toxicity buildup or crash duration. So once again, she's great for a medical build. She also has auto loader, and this weapon automatically reloads, allowing her to continuously fire. It also has significantly increased damage. Now, This is one of the reasons I think she's up there for the best DPS, because she doesn't need to get into melee, and she can also never reload if you choose auto loader. She's able to keep firing on the enemies that you target. With certain mods, you'll be able to paint a target for your companions to shoot at for leadership builds and for even speech builds as well. And this means she's just gonna constantly lay into them forever until they die or she's disrupted. So very, very good skill. She also has durability drug enhancement. Her combat drug auto injectors now also grant her temporary damage resistance, which means when she uses the drugs to get her boost, which you can buff with her perks, she also gets damage resistance. So if you want her to last a bit longer, if she's dying a little bit, otherwise you get drug auto injectors now increase her temporary bonus damage. In most cases, this is going to be the way you go. With Azza, she can do shock damage or she can inflict bleed. She can also resist heat or she can resist shock. Then later on, she can now stun enemies that aren't targeting her. So if you have gone, like I said, the leadership build where you're more tanky, this will mean that when she's not being targeted, when you've chosen to make her flank targets, for example, she's able to stun them. So she's almost like a rogue. Otherwise, you make her simply deal more damage to enemies that aren't targeting her without the stun. So do you want the stun or do you want her to deal a significant backstab bonus? For her armor, she has the first time she would go down in combat, she heals to full instead, or she has when not attacking a target, Azza will camouflage herself, preventing enemies from attacking her and granting her a damage bonus. So both of these kind of do the same thing. So this is if you've chosen to let her go directly at her targets and deal the most amount of damage. She's probably going to drop, she's not super tanky. This will get her back up, dealing more damage. However, if you've chosen her to flank targets, she will camouflage herself and deal even more damage. So she's going to lean more into that kind of roguey playstyle. Then we have Marisol. She will either deal slightly more damage in an area with her attacks, or she'll deal fire damage. Now, I haven't mentioned, but for example, with Niles' plasma damage increase, if you're going plasma damage yourself, giving them the same effect actually makes the build-up of stacks on the target build up faster. So you don't want to kind of spread it out. You don't want him doing shock damage and you doing plasma damage, even though they're technically more effective against different targets. You want him to do the same as you. So it might be that you've gone this plasma build, and then in that case you choose Niles and you choose Marisol, for example, because they both help you in that regard. Moving on, she can block plasma damage or she can block shock damage. You have to make the choice there. Now, with all of these armors, I really can't tell you which one's better. It's depending on the enemies you're fighting, and they both rear their heads around the same amount. And companions don't take friendly damage, not from your explosions. So don't think, oh, I'm going to throw all the plasma grenades, I'll make her plasma resistant. Doesn't work like that. Don't worry about it. This is really a nothing burger for almost all of them. If there's anything that isn't a particular elemental focus, probably go with that. Like Inez, for example, you probably want to go with Stunning Mist. Back to Marisol. Her pistol now charges her companion ability when it deals damage. This means you can stun much more often. It's usually pretty damn good. Otherwise, her pistol now extends the duration of hostile effects on her target. So if you've got a build that likes to spread, say, fire effects and burn all your targets, this is going to make it last a lot longer. However, if you don't have a way to build up those charges on the enemies fast, this won't really show up as much as you want it to. So it's kind of a trap in a way. You have to go a heavy focus on spreading those elemental effects. Otherwise, this is just going to be better in almost every case. And even in that case, stunning more often is probably better, arguably, in a lot of cases. So, I mean, it's whichever one you want to use flavor-wise, but I would usually pick this one. Then we have Shield Battery. Marisol also gains a shield whenever you spend gadget energy, and you're going to be spending a lot if you've gone a science build, and she's great with science characters. You might want to pick this up if that's the case. Otherwise, she gains a charge for her companion ability whenever she takes damage. So if you've got anything other than science, you want to pick this up. If you've got science, you want to pick this up. Very simple. With Tristan, he can either deal plasma damage or he can deal shock damage. He can either resist shock or resist corrosive. He has a lot of armor. Now, because he has a lot of armor, corrosive, if allowed to stack up, provides a debuff on the character that lowers their armor. So this is one of the characters I'd say pick up acid-proof plates over the other, just because this is going to come up more often for Tristan in particular. Let's move on. Flamethrower Gauntlet. Tristan's Gauntlet fires a flamethrower attachment, causing continuous plasma damage around him. If you've gone Plasma Grenades, go Plasma Flame Gauntlet, because they both work with each other to build up the effect, the elemental effect together, because you deal fire damage to something, it gets a small effect on it, and the more you deal, the more that effect charges up. Once it reaches its pinnacle, they're going to be burnt and take that extra damage. Otherwise, you get Shock Emitter Gauntlet. Tristan's Gauntlet gains a Shock Emitter attachment, causing continuous shock damage around him. So if you've gone Shock Grenades, you go the Shock Emitter Gauntlet. It's a no-brainer. Then we have Powered Armor. Grants a bonus to damage based on Tristan's armor value. Grants bonus damage based on Tristan's armor value. His armor value is always going to be the same, so this is just granting bonus damage, the same amount of bonus damage, unless he gets corroded, and then his damage goes down, which is why acid-proof plates. He also gets Shrapnel Resistor, granting immunity to all AoE damage. This is only enemy AoE damage, because once again, your AoE damage doesn't affect him. So Shrapnel Resistor doesn't come up as much as you think. I would, in most cases, say Powered Armor, unless you've gone very hard difficulty, in which case you have him taunting for you. You want Shrapnel Resistor in that case, because grenades are going to probably one-shot him. So to reiterate, we have Niles, good with sneak builds, good DPS, good tank. Then we have Valerie, great support overall. You probably only want her on higher difficulties, because otherwise you're kind of missing out on a lot of flavor with companion banter and so on and so forth. I just don't appreciate her personality that much. Also, she's a pure support focus. Even with hack and lockpicking builds, you probably don't want to use her. I would say the rest of the companions are sitting on one tier and she's just one tier below them, but you'd understand that being a robot companion. Then Inez, best consistent DPS in the game. You also want to use her if you've got a medical focus. Then we have Azza, really great DPS, really great with explosive builds. If you've gone a leadership build and you want to output damage, she's great for you, same with Inez. If you've gone an explosives build, you want to pick her up regardless of all of her other qualities. Then we have Marisol, she's going to be good for any build, but especially if you've gone science. If you haven't gone science, she's still very useful. If you have, core, do not pick up any other character over her, she's going to be great for you. Tristan, once again, great for almost every build, great if you want him to tank, but also might be useful for your leadership builds if you want to output damage as well, because he can teleport to targets, similar to Azza. If you've gone leadership at range, you probably want Tristan. If you've gone leadership melee, you probably want Inez. It's really hard to choose between these three for DPS, but most of the time you're going to want Inez. However, Tristan will last a lot longer than Inez or Azza, even if you build him a DPS focus. So that might be one of the reasons to pick him over these two, which are the recommendation if you just want to output damage. So those are the 6 companions. What do you think? What build are you running? You might as well check out my ultimate character guide below if you want to decide what your build is. This is going to be a complement to that. Which companions will you be running with your build? Let me know below. I really want to hear about it. If you want to know more about companions, ask me in the comments. I'll try to get to them all. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, ciao friends.